Hey guys, tonight we're stepping into a quiet bamboo grove at dusk, where the wind has just begun its gentle hush through the tall, hollow stalks. The sunlight is slipping away like tea from the edge of a cup, and everything around you seems to exhale. You've made it through your day, whether it was busy or quiet, joyful or strange. And now, in this sliver of time, just before sleep, we're going to explore a kind of patience that doesn't ask you to try harder or wait better. It just asks you to listen slowly, softly, deeply. You probably won't survive this in the traditional achievement-oriented sense. There's nothing to win here. No productivity hack, no level to complete. Just bamboo, stillness, and the kind of deep knowing that grows when no one's watching. So before you get comfortable, take a moment to like the video and subscribe, but only if you genuinely enjoy what I do here. I'd love to know where you're listening from and what time it is. Drop your city and the hour in the comments below. Now, dim the lights, maybe turn on a fan for that some background hum, and let's ease into tonight's journey together. The path is soft beneath your feet, a mossy hush. You walk barefoot, slowly, not because you must, but because the grove seems to ask it of you. Each step is a small ceremony of noticing. Somewhere in the distance, a bird calls out to the night, not loudly, but with that same sense of practiced ease. Bamboo doesn't grow like most things. It waits for years. You may already know this, or maybe it's news, but in its early life, the bamboo seed pushes no green shoots up at all. Instead, it grows downward, quietly into the earth, spreading its roots in a silent architecture no one sees. 5 years, sometimes longer. And then suddenly, it rises astonishingly fast, feet per day. But only after all that invisible work, you step deeper into the grove, and it's as if the bamboo leans a little closer to you. Not threatening, just curious. As though it's saying, yes, I've waited too. And haven't you? Haven't you had days or entire years when nothing seemed to move? When your efforts went unrewarded, your kindness unnoticed, your dreams like seeds that wouldn't sprout. You're not alone. Even the bamboo has its long night beneath the soil. A Buddhist teaching gently stirs in your memory something the Buddha once said: with mindfulness, strive on. Not in the hard, relentless sense, but in the quiet way. Like this grove. It's not passive, it's preparing. You sit for a moment at the base of a wide gray stalk. It creaks in the breeze. You touch the smooth outer skin, cool, hard, and empty inside. And you wonder, what's so bad about being hollow? The bamboo is empty, but it stands tall, It bends, but doesn't break. It grows without showing off. That kind of wisdom doesn't shout. It whispers. It grows in places the eye can't follow. Your mind begins to slow, tracking the rhythm of that wind, the breath in your own body, the long exhale that drops your shoulders and softens your jaw. The folk around here tell a tale about this grove, about a traveler who once got lost in the forest and sat right where you are now, frustrated, angry, pushing against the silence like a stubborn door. He wanted a sign, a breakthrough, but all he got was the creak of bamboo in the wind. Night passed. In the morning, the traveler found himself weeping, not from sorrow, but relief. Because somehow, without anything happening, something in him had shifted. He'd stopped fighting the weight, and the waiting had become peace itself. Can that happen to you? You listen. The wind rustles again. A soft click-click as two stalks bump gently into each other. Not in conflict, just in contact. You're not required to force your way forward. You're not behind. You're not early. You're exactly where the bamboo is growing, where no one sees, rooting into something unseen and sacred. And maybe the question isn't, when will things finally happen for me? Maybe it's something more like, what am I becoming even now in this stillness? Night deepens. A small frog croaks from somewhere nearby. You can't see it, but the sound is clear and calm, like it knows exactly where it belongs. You lean back against the bamboo stalk behind you and breathe. The cool bark at your back, the gentle breeze on your cheeks, your own pulse slowing, syncing with the rhythm of this patient place. Somewhere in the distance, a temple bell doesn't ring, and maybe that's enough. Beneath your resting body, the earth is full of stories no one ever reads. Roots weaving slow patterns, old stones bearing witness time, settling into time. And among it all, the bamboo. You shift slightly, still leaning against the stalk. Its skin is smooth under your fingers, but it's what lies beneath that draws your thoughts now. Not the height or the greenness, but the hidden world below. Bamboo is strange that way. For the first several years of its life, it appears to do nothing. You could water it, tend it, sing lullabies to it, and still, no shoots, no leaves, not even a single green blade to show your effort was worthwhile. It just sits there, or so it seems. But under the surface, the roots are moving slowly, expanding, pushing through dark soil with quiet resolve. They're creating the foundation for something that won't appear for a long, long time. You're still listening to the wind, still aware of your breath, but your mind travels now gently, not in worry, but in wonder. You think of times you doubted your own roots. The jobs that didn't turn into careers. The friendships that faded. The practices you began with hope and abandoned in silence. All the things you thought should have sprouted by now. But what if they were never meant to grow in public? What if something deep beneath your own surface was weaving unseen strength? There's a Buddhist teaching that fits here like moonlight between leaves. Just as a solid rock is not shaken by the storm, even so, the wise are not affected by praise or blame, not affected by the weather above because their roots run deep below. You remember a story. A boy once asked a monk, "Why should I keep meditating when nothing changes?" The monk pointed to the mountains beyond the temple walls and said, "Do the trees grow louder when you look at them?" The boy thought and then smiled. Because no, of course they don't. You don't hear the roots growing. You don't hear the change. But it's happening anyway, just like you. And now, a question unfurls in the quiet space of your heart. What has been growing in me, even when I saw nothing? A moth flutters past its pale wings, catching the last threads of twilight. It doesn't rush. It's not in a hurry. You watch it, your breath slow, and even now, and you wonder if maybe all this talk of patience isn't just about waiting. It's about trusting. You look again at the grove. How long it must have taken for this quiet forest to rise. Years of nothing. Then in mere weeks, towering green shafts. Bamboo can grow nearly a meter a day once it begins. That's the part everyone notices. But it's the part underground, the silent preparation that gives it power. Maybe you've been too focused on what's visible, on achievements, on appearances, on the sprouting. But what about the strength it takes to wait? You lie down now, fully supported by the mossy earth, and close your eyes for a moment. Not to sleep yet, just to listen more clearly. A low rustle of leaves, a distant owl, and the unspoken sense that something inside you is softening. Somewhere inside, you've been tight, holding on, pushing, wishing you could figure it out, but not here, not in this grove. Here, there's permission to let go of proof. You don't need results to be worthy. You don't need to bloom tonight. You just need to root. There's another folk tale from a village tucked far beyond the forest about a woman who planted a bamboo shoot behind her house and watered it every day for 7 years. Her neighbors laughed, called her foolish, told her to try tomatoes instead, but she kept watering. On the first day of the 8th year, it broke through the soil. By the 3rd day, it shaded her entire home and the neighbors. They came to sit in the cool shadow of her patience. She served them tea, smiling. Would you keep watering if you knew it would take 7 years? What if you didn't know how long? You rise again slowly, and run your fingers along the base of a nearby stalk. Its green is deeper now in the dusk, almost blue. You wonder how many years it waited before deciding to rise. You wonder how many quiet mornings you've misunderstood as stagnation when they were actually sacred rooting. Sometimes patience isn't about endurance. It's about understanding what kind of growth you're meant for. And so you breathe again, one breath, and then another, soft, unhurried, because here in this grove, nothing is rushed, and nothing is wasted, not even silence. You wander a little further into the grove, your bare feet pressing into the soft earth. The hush has deepened now, the kind of quiet that doesn't feel empty, but full. Every leaf, every hollow stalk of bamboo feels like it's listening with you. You feel it in your chest, the slow, round weight of the moment. It's not heavy, just still. And then you notice it on a low stone ledge, tucked beneath the roots of a leaning tree, a small porcelain teacup. It's chipped on one side, the glaze faded, its rim dusted with time, left behind, perhaps, or offered intentionally. Either way, it waits. And somehow, it waits beautifully. You kneel beside it, curious. The cup is empty, entirely. And in this dim, echoing place, it feels like that matters. The emptiness isn't sad. It's ready. You've been full lately, haven't you? Full of thoughts, notifications, second-guessing. The endless, invisible list of things you should be doing or becoming. Your body may be lying still now, but parts of your mind are probably still pacing. But this cup, it just sits, cracked, open, patient. There's a teaching from the Buddha: empty your cup so that it may be filled again. You've heard it perhaps, but tonight it isn't a metaphor. It's right here, porcelain and present. This is what bamboo knows too, that to be strong, you must be hollow, not in the aching way, in the open way. It bends in the wind because it's not full of its own weight. It listens instead of shouting, and still it stands tall. There's a folk story from a sleepy mountain village where a tea master became famous, not for his brewing, but for the way he held his cup. Guests noticed he would always leave just a little space at the top, never filling it to the brim. Why, they asked. He'd smile and say, "So I never forget to make room for what I don't yet know." The cup beside you catches a falling leaf. It lands gently inside and rests there. The cup doesn't resist. It doesn't complain about being used. And when the wind stirs again, the leaf lifts away. You've held a lot lately. Emotions, questions, maybe the kind of quiet grief that doesn't even have a name yet. And maybe for tonight, It's okay to let the cup be empty. You close your eyes and imagine yourself as that cup. Cracked, maybe. Worn, but open. Not because you've given up, but because you've made space. Is letting go truly a loss? Or could it be a blessing in disguise? A kind of spiritual feng shui? Bamboo doesn't cling to its leaves. It lets them fall. And when they do, the ground is nourished. You inhale deeply, then exhale slowly. And each breath feels like a little act of clearing, a soft sweep of the inner shelves, not to throw anything away, but just to make room. Room for stillness, room for truth, room for something new to arise when it's ready. The cracked cup sits silently beside you. It's not asking to be mended. It's not ashamed of its age. If anything, its emptiness feels like a kind of invitation, and you wonder, what would it mean to carry less? Not to abandon responsibility, not to withdraw, but just to stop pouring more into a cup that's already full. There's a sound now, gentle, rhythmic. A drop of water falling from somewhere above, landing in the cup. A perfect, clear drop. Then another. Not fast, not urgent. You watch as the water collects. The cup doesn't chase the drops. It just receives. With grace, with stillness. What are you still trying to catch that might come on its own if you simply became ready? You breathe into that question. Let it settle. There's nothing to fix tonight. Nothing to analyze. Just you, the bamboo, and a simple porcelain cup that knows how to wait. You reach out and touch it once more gently. It wobbles slightly, then stills. It's not holding on. It doesn't need to. Neither do you. And just like that, a part of you feels lighter. Not because the load is gone, but because you've remembered it's okay to put it down, even just for now. So as you begin to rise, the breeze brushes past your shoulders like a soft shawl. The wind doesn't judge you for your cracks. It flows right through them. And the cup, it keeps catching water, one patient drop at a time. Your footsteps carry you deeper into the grove, now the air growing cooler with each step. The trees lean a little more closely here, like friends gathered around a secret. The ground beneath you is still soft, still giving, and you begin to notice the silence between sounds. That quiet that isn't just an absence, but a kind of presence in itself. Off to the side, where the grove gives way to a sunken clearing, you see an old stone bench half covered in moss. Sitting on it is the kind of figure you'd almost think was carved from the earth itself, an old farmer, wide-hatted and smiling, unmoving, except for the slow nod of his head in time with the wind. You sit beside him, not too close, not too far, just near enough to share a silence. And in that silence, a story begins to tell itself. Long ago, before the bamboo grove reached this far, there was a farmer who could not get his crops to grow. Every day he planted. Every night he prayed for rain. And every morning, when the skies remained clear, he shouted into the clouds, "Why won't you listen?" The villagers called him stubborn. His wife, gentle and kind, called him passionate. But passion untamed becomes strain. And the more he pushed, the less the land responded. One morning, as legend tells it, the farmer sat down right here, where you're sitting now, and simply gave up. No more shouting. No more checking the sky. No more digging up seeds to see how they were doing. He let the tools rest. He watched the wind move the grass, and after a long while, he fell asleep. When he woke, rain was falling, softly, easily, like it had been waiting for him to quiet down. And his crops, they grew, of course. But that wasn't the miracle. The real miracle was that he learned to stop forcing the rhythm of things that have their own time. There's a teaching of the Buddha that dances through this tale. Peace comes from within. Do not seek it without. You glance at the old man beside you, though perhaps he's not really there. Just memory, or parable, or maybe a little of both. He smiles, then fades into the gentle light drifting through the canopy. You breathe and wonder, what am I still trying to force into bloom? You remember a recent moment, maybe yesterday, maybe last year, when you couldn't make something happen, no matter how much effort you poured into it. Maybe it was love, or healing, or clarity. And maybe, like the farmer, you only found ease when you stopped reaching and let yourself fall still. You press your palm into the moss beside the bench. It's cool, plush, damp with dew. You feel its quiet welcome. The bamboo above you sways not with urgency, but with grace. Not one stalk resists the wind. Not one tries to be taller than the next. They rise, they bend, they breathe with the world as it is, and still they grow. You close your eyes, and another image forms. It's a small wooden bowl held out to the sky. Not shaken, not tilted, just open, waiting. And above it, the clouds gather, not because of pleading, but because the air is ready. Can you be ready without demanding? Can you wait not as a punishment, but as an act of trust? The old farmer would tell you yes. He didn't stop tending his field. He just stopped trying to command the sky. And maybe that's the art here. Not quitting, not surrendering your dreams, but loosening your grip, giving the world enough space to respond. A bird flutters past, landing nearby on a stalk of bamboo. It tilts its head, looks at you, then lets out a sound so small it barely registers. Not a song, just a presence, the same kind of presence that filled the farmer's days once he let go of the noise. You take a deep breath now. In, hold, out, and you feel something shift. Not a grand revelation, not a thunderclap of insight, just a soft release in your chest, like an old knot loosening. The story of the farmer lingers in your bones, and so does his bench, its mossy patience, and the truth that some of the most important growth happens when you stop trying to speed it up. The bamboo around you sways again, a gentle applause, and for the first time in a long time, you realize you're allowed to rest. You rise from the mossy bench lighter somehow. Not because anything has changed, but because you're no longer pushing, no longer demanding an answer from the wind. Your body feels slower now, in that sweet, deliberate way that makes each step feel like part of something ancient and remembered. As you walk, the grove thickens. Bamboo arches overhead like cathedral beams, tall and reverent. There's a hush to this part of the forest, more than quiet. It feels sacred. You pause for a moment, and then you notice it. A sound so soft, you almost miss it. Creak, click, rustle. You tilt your head and listen. Not the wind this time, not bird song. It's something deeper. It's the sound of growing. Yes, growing, not loud, not grand, but it's there. The gentle strain of a stalk stretching ever upward, almost like it's sighing in its sleep. A low, wooden wood whisper, the kind of thing only stillness can catch. You sit cross-legged on the ground, eyes closed, ears open, and as your breath deepens, you feel it, the slow, faithful unfolding of life that asks for nothing but time. Bamboo doesn't announce its growth. It doesn't boast about. It doesn't send alerts or post progress updates. It just rises quietly, constantly. It grows when no one's watching, and so do you. You think of moments when you felt stuck, motionless. Moments that might have looked like nothing from the outside. But maybe, just maybe, those were the moments when your roots were learning how to listen. When your heart was preparing to grow in ways you couldn't yet imagine. There's an old parable whispered in Zen circles about a student who sat every day in the meditation hall and never spoke. For years he said nothing, learned nothing, at least according to the other students. Until one evening, the teacher called him forward and said, "Speak." The student stood, opened his mouth, and recited an entire sutra perfectly fluidly, as though he'd known it all along. "Where did you learn that?" the teacher asked. The student bowed. "From the sound of my breath." You smile softly, letting that image settle. Maybe your own growth has been quiet too. So quiet even you didn't notice it. there's a line from the Buddha that floats gently into your mind. As a flower blooms in the silence of dawn, so too does wisdom arise in the stillness of the heart. And maybe, just maybe, you've been blooming this whole time. You press your hands to the cool earth and feel it, the subtle hum of life beneath the surface. The pulse of growth without effort. A promise whispered in silence. The wind shifts slightly, brushing your cheeks. A few leaves swirl past. You follow one with your eyes, watching it spin lazily, then drift downward, a single spiral of release. The bamboo doesn't flinch, doesn't rush. It just keeps rising. Every inch earned in silence, every motion a prayer. You begin to wonder, what if I could grow like that? Not all at once, not loudly, but with faith in each small, honest effort. Maybe it's not about breakthroughs. Maybe it's about the discipline of quiet consistency. The choice to be present again and again until the presence itself becomes the path. And so you sit a little longer, listening, not for the big answers, but for the small creaks of change. You picture your own life, your struggles, your questions, your ordinary sacred days, and you begin to hear something beneath it all. Not noise, not confusion. A rhythm, faint but real, like bamboo rising, growing so slowly, you might have missed it if you hadn't paused long enough to listen. And now you have. You open your eyes. The grove glows softly with moonlight, now filtering in slender beams through the canopy above. Everything looks the same, and yet not quite. It feels more alive. Or maybe it's you who feels more alive. You run your hand along a nearby stalk. It's smooth, sturdy, full of secrets. You lean your ear close, and once again, you hear it, that whisper of growth, like a long, quiet inhale. No rush, no struggle, just becoming, and it makes you wonder, is growth always happening, even when I feel still? The answer doesn't come in words. It comes in creaks and clicks, and the way your own breath meets the silence like an old friend returning home. You rise slowly, the way a stalk might after a storm, with care, with strength, and you walk on listening for the sound of what you're still becoming. You follow the winding path deeper still, the grove narrowing and then widening again, like breath moving through a chest. The moonlight dapples the ground in shifting silver patterns, soft and uneven, like the quiet flicker of candlelight on water. You notice now how easy it is to match the pace of the bamboo, unhurried, deliberate patient. Each step is a meditation, not because you're trying to be mindful, but because the grove won't let you be anything else. It gently invites you back to now, over and over. Your thoughts soften, your shoulders drop. And in this simple rhythm of walking, you feel a memory stir, not of a moment in your life, but of something older, something you may have forgotten. You always knew, a soft voice within. It's the voice that says, you don't need to race. A breeze stirs, and the bamboo around you sways in perfect tempo, not rushed, not delayed, just present, just so. And you remember a teaching, a story really passed down by a quiet monk with kind eyes. It's said that the Buddha once came upon a musician who was practicing a stringed instrument. The man was frustrated, angry, even convinced that he'd never find the right note. The Buddha asked him, "What happens when you tighten the string too much?" "It snaps," the musician replied, "and if it's too loose, it makes no sound." Then said the Buddha, "The way to awakening is like tuning your instrument, not too tight, not too loose. Just enough. You stop walking. Let that settle. Not too tight, not too loose. That's the middle way, not an ideology, not a punishment. Just the art of balance. The permission to find your pace without guilt, without comparison, without needing to explain yourself to anyone. You take another step and another, and you notice something. There's no finish line in sight, no destination demanding your arrival. Just more grove, more path, more breath, and that's enough. A folk tale surfaces, now one that speaks through moss and wind. There was once a traveler who believed enlightenment lived on top of a far-off mountain. So he walked quickly, day and night, refusing to rest, passing streams and villages and blooming flowers without notice. His feet blistered, his back ached, but still he pushed, determined to reach the top. When he finally arrived, panting and hollow, he found an old man sweeping the stone path. The traveler asked, "Is this the mountain of enlightenment?" The old man smiled. "No, that was back at the stream, and the tree with the birds, and the place where you skipped your meal." The traveler stood stunned. "You were already on the mountain," the old man said. "You just didn't walk like it. You chuckle softly now, thinking of your own fast days, the ones where you moved so quickly you forgot why you started, when you treated life like a to-do list instead of a song. And in this stillness, you ask yourself gently, what if the path is the practice, not the goal? Not the summit, just the walk itself. Bamboo doesn't hurry. It doesn't strategize its height. It just grows into exactly what it is meant to be, one patient inch at a time. And you don't have to be faster. You don't have to be anywhere but here. A cool breeze circles your ankles like a sigh. You pause beside a particularly tall stalk. Its surface is marked with subtle notches, proof of its steady rise. You run your fingers along them, and they feel like time itself. Quiet, honest, earned. And in this moment, something simple and true arrives. You are allowed to grow at your own pace. The world may shout differently. Productivity, progress, push harder. But here in the grove, among the bamboo, who know better, you remember. Slow is not the same as lost. In fact, it might be closer to found. You sit again, not from exhaustion, but from reverence. The kind of reverence that says this moment matters too. A small insect buzzes lazily nearby. Not annoying, just present, doing its quiet work. Not rushing. You think about how much time you've spent trying to catch up, to prove yourself, to finish something, and now you wonder, what would my life feel like if I trusted the pace I'm already moving at? The wind offers no answer, but it also offers no resistance. It just moves around you, through you, with you. You smile. That's enough for tonight. You continue walking, not because you must, but because the grove invites you. The path curls around a slight hill now, and as you climb it gently, your eyes catch the outline of something curious, just beyond the next bend. A tall wooden frame, weathered by time, rising above the bamboo, like a sentry or a promise. You move closer, each step quieter than the last. And there it stands, a temple bell, but it doesn't ring. It hasn't rung in years, maybe decades. The rope lies coiled at its base, thick with dust, untouched. Yet there's no sense of neglect, only readiness. The kind of stillness that waits with love, not with need. You circle it slowly. The bell is enormous dark bronze, tinged with moss, its surface etched with age-old characters. It watches the forest. It listens to the seasons. And it waits, not for a reason, but because that's what it does. A whisper rises from within you. Can I be ready without rushing? You close your eyes. Feel the presence of the bell beside you. It's not sad. It's not anxious for its next moment of glory. It simply abides. And in doing so, it becomes its own kind of teaching. There's a saying passed down in the old monasteries: the bell does not call itself to ring. And maybe that's you too. Maybe you don't have to summon your moment. Maybe you're not meant to ring every day. Maybe being still, being present, being true. Maybe that's enough for now. You settle beside the bell, sitting cross-legged on a smooth stone. From this vantage, you can see the forest open out just slightly. The moonlight drapes the bamboo like silk. Everything feels suspended in a deep exhale, and you remember a folk tale, one told in the whispered hush of temple walls. There was once a novice monk assigned to tend the great temple bell. He polished it, kept the wood frame strong, and replaced the rope when it frayed. But he was never permitted to ring it. Not once. Years passed. He grew older, and still the bell remained silent. One day, in a year of drought and unrest, the head monk approached the bell. He looked at the novice, now no longer a boy, and said, "Only this, it's time." The monk pulled the rope, and the sound rang out across valleys and rivers. Deep, clear, reverberating, like the voice of the mountain itself. When it faded, the head monk turned and bowed to him. "Thank you for your silence." The years of quiet hadn't been wasted. They were the preparation. They gave the bell its weight, its purpose, its perfect timing. You think of your own silence now, the seasons of waiting, the times you wondered if your voice mattered, if your work had value, if your heart would ever be fully seen. And maybe the answer is still coming, but also maybe the answer is already here in the calm certainty of the bell that doesn't rush to ring. There's a teaching from the Buddha that hums low in your memory. Better than 1,000 hollow words is one word that brings peace. You let that settle in your bones. What if your moment to speak, to move, to rise, it's not late? It's just not yet. And what if not yet is a sacred place? You look up at the bell once more, and in its presence, you feel yourself mirrored, not waiting out of lack, but waiting from fullness, not a void, a vessel. You place your palm against its surface. It's cool and solid, unmoved by your touch, and still somehow deeply responsive. As if it's listening, you whisper something, a hope, a truth, a thank you. The bell doesn't answer. It just holds, like a sky holding stars, like silence holding breath. You stay a little longer, letting the stillness echo in your chest, not needing to move, not needing to be seen, just being. The bamboo doesn't stir. The wind is resting, and for the first time in a while, you feel what the bell has always known. You are not late. You are not forgotten. You are exactly on time. You leave the bell behind its silent presence, still resonating like an invisible hum just beneath your ribs. The path is gentler here, cushioned with a thicker bed of fallen bamboo leaves, whispering faintly underfoot. It feels like you're walking inside a breath, a long exhale wrapped in moonlight. And then you see her, a cat. She's perched on the edge of a windowsill that juts from a small wooden hut hidden between the stalks. Her fur is soft gray, blending almost perfectly with the worn wood and the silver of the night. She doesn't blink, doesn't stretch, doesn't even glance at you. She's completely absorbed by something else. You follow her gaze. Just beyond the clearing, a leaf flutters downward. Nothing special, just a single browned leaf making its slow descent. But the cat watches like it's the only thing in the world, and suddenly you do too. There's a magic in her stillness. Not passive, not bored, just purely attentive. You take a seat on the smooth wooden step near her, careful not to startle her, but she doesn't even twitch. Her tail sways once, then stills again. Her entire presence is a soft invitation. Be with what is. You watch the leaf drift, caught in its own tiny spiral. And then another follows, and another. It's a quiet rain of nothing, and somehow everything. You breathe almost unconsciously slower now, softer, like you're trying not to disturb the moment. And that's when the teaching finds you. Be like the cat. A voice inside whispers. Watch without reaching. Witness without grasping. It echoes an old line from the Buddha. To see things as they are is to awaken, not to fix them, not to categorize or improve them, just to see. You glance again at the cat. Her ears turn slightly at a distant sound, but she doesn't move. Her patience isn't forced. It's natural, comfortable, regal even. And you realize how rare that kind of watching is in your own life. You usually observe in order to do something, solve something, change something. Even your quiet moments are often not that quiet. But here with the cat, you start to understand watching can be its own form of reverence. There's a folk tale told by mountain monks of a meditation cat who lived outside their temple for decades. Every evening, she'd sit at the doorway as the monks chanted. Never once did she enter. Never once did she leave. She simply sat. Visitors began to ask, "Why does the cat stay here?" One monk answered, "She guards the moment." What moment? This one. And now you smile. Because that's exactly what this cat beside you is doing. She's guarding this moment, not by controlling it, but by being fully in it. What would it mean to guard your own moment like that? Not protect it fiercely. Just stay with it. Notice it. Cherish it for what it is without demanding it be more. The wind stirs again, and the bamboo rustles gently. The leaves fall slower now, as if even gravity is pausing to listen. You lean back slightly against the wooden step, letting your head rest against the frame of the hut. Your gaze lifts to the sky, peeking through the swaying bamboo tips. There's so much space, and in that space, the realization unfolds softly. Maybe I don't have to participate in everything I notice. Maybe watching is enough. Maybe attention offered gently is a kind of love. The cat finally moves just a little. She lowers her head, eyes half-lidded, and begins to purr. Not loudly, but deep and rhythmic, like a lullaby made of breath. You can feel it vibrate through the wood beside you. It's the sound of someone who's not in a hurry to be anywhere else, and neither are you. You close your eyes. Let the rustling and the purring and the night become one continuous hum. Your breath moves with it. Your mind softens into it, and the cat watches, the world watch itself. The cat remains on the windowsill, curled now, like a comma in a sentence you're not quite finished reading. Her purring has quieted, or maybe it's simply blended into the other sounds of night. The soft rustle of bamboo, the breeze gently shifting direction, the occasional creak from a distant branch. Letting go, you rise slowly, bow your head in a quiet thank you to the cat, and step off the wooden threshold, returning to the path. The ground feels cooler now beneath your feet, as though the earth itself is exhaling. The bamboo parts just slightly ahead, and you step into a smaller clearing where the trees form a ring. In the middle, a flat stone, smooth, cool. And above it, the sky opens just enough to reveal a patch of stars. But your attention is caught not by the stars, beautiful as they are, but by something closer, something suspended between the clouds and the earth. A single, low-hanging cloud that floats above the trees, silvered by the moon, full but unmoving. It hovers with purpose as you watch it. You remember a parable told in quiet circles about a cloud and a village waiting for rain. There was once a village that suffered through a dry season so long it turned laughter, brittle and soil to dust. Every morning, the villagers looked to the sky. Every night, they prayed for rain, and above them a cloud waited, heavy with water, heavy with promise. Why won't it rain? The children would ask. The elders had no answer. The cloud, of course, heard their questions, felt their thirst, but it did not move, not because it didn't care, but because the wind was not yet right. And when it finally came days or weeks later, the cloud released all it had. Gentle, soaking rain that lasted through the night and left puddles deep enough for joy to return. Sometimes the story concludes. Kindness waits so it can arrive whole. You lie back on the stone and look up at the cloud. It's quiet, full, waiting, and you wonder, what kindness in me has not yet been released? Not because you're selfish, but because maybe the moment hasn't come yet. You breathe that in. There's pressure in this world to give everything. Now, to offer love, quickly, wisdom, constantly, support endlessly. But what if, like the cloud, your timing matters? What if it's okay to be full and not yet spilling? The Buddha once said, just as rain falls equally on the just and unjust, so does the Dharma fall on all without distinction. But even the rain waits for the right wind. You feel into your own life. Where are you holding back? Not from fear, but from readiness. Not everything beautiful blooms on demand. The cloud above drifts just a little. A shift so subtle, you wonder if you imagined it. But the moonlight glints differently now on its edge. Maybe it's closer, maybe not. Still, it remains full. Still, it waits. you begin to see something sacred in that image. Not as a delay, not as withholding, but as deep wisdom, the power of not giving before the giving is true. You place your hand over your heart. There's a warmth there, a fullness. You know what it's like to be ready to love, to create, to help, but not quite know how or when. And for the first time in a while, you don't judge yourself for that. You think again of the villagers, how their longing didn't force the rain, how the rain came when the time was whole, how sometimes the wait is part of the gift. The bamboo around you leans just slightly inward, forming a hush around the clearing. You feel held. You feel seen, not in a performative way, but in the way moonlight sees gently without demand. The cloud remains, not in a rush to disappear, and neither are you. You lie there, arms at your sides, and feel the stillness like a pool. You wonder, what would happen if I trusted the rain will come when it's truly ready? There's no answer, only the softness of breath, the weight of the sky, and the fullness of something ancient waiting patiently above you. And maybe that's enough. You stay on the stone a while longer, cradled by the quiet ring of bamboo, the sky yawning above the still hovering cloud, watching over you like a slow, soft guardian. There's no pressure to move, no demand to progress, just the steady presence of your own breath, rising, falling, like the tide inside your chest. Eventually, you sit up, not with urgency, but with the same ease that a leaf might lift in a gentle wind. You stretch your arms, roll your neck, feel your body here grounded and real. The path resumes not far from where you left it. You begin walking again, this time more slowly than ever, as if each step is part of a prayer you don't need to speak aloud. Then there it is. You didn't expect it, though. Maybe a part of you hoped it would come. A forest path lined with stones, winding through the bamboo like a river, and every few feet, a small wooden marker carved with a single symbol. You recognize them, not because you studied them, but because they feel familiar. They're the characters for breath, one marker after another, like footprints of something ancient. You follow the path, and with each step, you begin to match your breathing to your walking. One inhale, one step, one exhale, another step. It feels simple. It feels true. And before you know it, you're no longer trying. You're just being. There's a teaching from the Buddha that surfaces like a soft candle in the dark. Breathing in, I calm body and mind. Breathing out, I smile. Dwelling in the present moment, I know this is a wonderful moment. You whisper it to yourself with each step. Inhale, calm. Exhale, smile. Inhale, present. Exhale, wonderful. And it becomes your rhythm. The bamboo around you seems to bow with each breath, as if breathing with you. You wonder how long it's been since you let your life move this slowly, this rhythmically, this consciously. You pass another marker and another, then pause. Place your hand on your heart. You feel it there, your own rhythm, your own pulse, your own forest path. And suddenly, you're not alone, because every person who's ever paused like this, ever followed a breath into the forest of themselves, is walking with you now. A folk tale blooms in your memory, soft and clear. There was once a boy who felt lost in the world. He wandered from city to city, from teacher to teacher, hoping for a map. No one gave him one. Only this advice: follow your breath. It knows the way home. So he did. He followed his breath through storms and stillness, through grief and laughter. And one day, without realizing it, he arrived. Not somewhere new, but somewhere deeply familiar. He was home, because home was not a place. It was a presence. And now here you are, on a path through bamboo. No signs or saw pointing forward, just markers of breath. And yet you are not lost. Could presence be more faithful than any plan? You take another step. Inhale, exhale. You're not trying to go anywhere. You're not achieving anything. You're simply walking, simply being. You pass a small stream now. Its waters clear and slow, tumbling over smooth stones, like laughter whispered through fingers. You kneel beside it, scoop a handful, and sip. It's cool, pure, and somehow it tastes like stillness itself. The water flows at its own pace. It doesn't hurry to become the ocean. It just is, and so are you. You look into the stream and catch your reflection, not as a portrait, not as a fixed thing, but as a ripple, always changing, always arriving. And you think, isn't this what I've always longed for? Not certainty, but presence. You rise again. The bamboo sways gently in the breeze. You continue walking, breathing, listening, and for the first time in a long time, the act of moving feels like a form of rest. The breath path fades gently into soft ground again, the markers growing sparse until they disappear entirely, like a melody easing into silence. But the rhythm remains in your body, tucked between ribs, steady as a heartbeat. You've finally decided to trust. Your steps carry you toward a clearing ringed with low, crooked trees. Different from the tall, elegant bamboo, these trees are shorter, older, with bark like folded cloth and branches that twist in quiet conversation. Nestled in their midst is something unexpected, a single fruit tree, tall and slender, but completely bare. You slow down, then stop. Tilt your head. Not a single piece of fruit. Not even a blossom, just limbs. Reaching. Waiting. And yet it doesn't feel sad. It feels dignified. You walk closer, and sit beneath its arching branches. The bark is pale, marked with subtle lines. You reach up, touch a leaf that's beginning to curl. It feels like an unanswered question. There's a story the villagers tell about this tree. A story whispered during winter months when nothing seems to grow. It's said this tree once grew among an orchard of generous giants. Peach trees, plum trees, pear trees, all bursting with fruit every season. People would come from miles around to fill their baskets and share in the sweetness. But this tree, it never bore fruit. Not in spring, not in summer, not even once. The orchard keepers considered cutting it down. "It's a waste of soil," they muttered. But the eldest among them said, "Leave it." Not all trees give in the same season. Years passed. The orchard flourished. And still, this one stood bare, until one day, long after most trees had given their last, this tree bloomed. Late, beautiful, unexpected. Its fruit was deep red, small, dense with flavor. And those who tasted it said it brought vivid dreams and sudden peace. It only fruited once every 17 years, but when it did, it changed the hearts of everyone who had waited. You rest your back against the tree now. Let its quiet presence surround you. It doesn't speak. It doesn't explain its delay. It simply grows, and so do you. Not on anyone else's timeline, not to meet an expectation. Just because growth, like breath, has its own wisdom. There's a phrase from the Buddha that surfaces like mist over water. All conditioned things arise and pass away. Understand this deeply, and you will live in joy. You breathe it in, arise, pass away, seasons within seasons. You think of your own barren years, times when nothing seemed to come to fruition, when the branches of your life felt spare your efforts unseen, maybe even dismissed. But what if you were simply between harvests? What if your fruit, like the trees, needed more time? You smile a little at the idea. The tree above you makes no excuses. It doesn't rush to catch up with the orchard it once stood beside. It doesn't panic about productivity. It just waits. And when the time is right, it gives. Could you trust your own rhythm that much? You reach into the soil near its roots. It's dark, rich, alive. The kind of soil that doesn't rush the seed, but knows exactly how to cradle it. And you wonder gently, what am I still becoming that others can't yet see? A breeze moves through the clearing. The trees rustle softly. And for a moment, the bare branches above you shimmer in the moonlight like silver fingers offering nothing and everything. You lean back further. Let your eyes close. Let the night settle. You don't need to know when your season will come. You only need to remain rooted, here, whole, even without fruit, because there is beauty in the patience of the tree that gives nothing now and everything later. You rise slowly from beneath the bare tree the ground leaving its quiet impression on your palms. There's no rush. The tree doesn't ask for thanks. It simply continues standing, and so do you, both of you, part of something that doesn't hurry. The forest hums as you move again deeper into its woven paths. Bamboo returns, narrower, now almost protective, like walking through the threads of a curtain. The grove is quieter here, but not silent. There's a rhythm, not sound exactly, but space between sounds. Then you see it. A low hut, perhaps abandoned, or simply forgotten, with a small doorway left ajar and a lantern unlit at its edge. The roof is made of thatch, patched here and there with fallen leaves, and beside it leans a weaver's loom. It's still. You walk closer, drawn not to the house, but to the loom. Its frame is solid wood, smoothed by years of touch. The shuttle rests in the middle of a half-finished pattern, a soft cloth in golds and grays, waiting for its next motion. But no hands move it now, and yet somehow it feels alive. You sit beside it quietly, as if not to disturb the unfinished work. And in that stillness, something opens inside you, something you've kept tightly wound. The tension of always trying to finish the weave. There's a story passed down through the mountain weavers about a woman who wove only during the day. Her work was praised for its color, its precision, its beauty. But one year, grief visited her home, and she could no longer bring herself to finish the piece she had started. She left the loom still. Neighbors asked when she'd return. She only said, "Not yet." Years passed, and one evening, she sat at the loom again, but not to weave. She simply sat in silence. Her fingers brushed the threads, and her heart whispered, "Even the pause is part of the pattern." She never finished that tapestry, but it remained in the village shrine, untouched, unfinished, and beloved, because it held the honesty of stillness. You place your hand gently on the edge of the loom. The wood is cool, worn smooth by time and trust. Not everything needs to be finished to be sacred. There's a teaching from the Buddha that finds its way into your heart. In the scene, there is only the scene. In the herd, only the herd. No interpretation, no embellishment, just presence. You look at the threads still stretched across the loom. Some taut, others beginning to loosen. There's grace in the in-between, in the spaces we forget to notice, in the pause between action and rest. And you wonder, what would happen if I honored the stillness between my own choices, not rushed to fill every silence, not hurried to solve every question, but simply let the stillness speak? Because, like this loom, your life is not a single thread, but a weave, not just of effort, but of rest, not just of motion, but of space. You glance at the shuttle, half forward, half returning. It hasn't finished its arc, and yet it rests easily, without guilt. You smile, and you remember another saying from the old weavers: "Let the silence tie the knots." Not all progress is forward. Some of it is still. Some of it is choosing not to rush, choosing to pause, choosing to trust that the next step will appear when it's ready, not when you demand it. You rise slowly, brushing a bit of leaf from the cloth. The unfinished pattern gleams softly in the dimness. You don't need to complete this story tonight. You only need to live inside it, to rest inside the quiet thread that runs through your own breath, your own waiting, your own weaving. As you step away, the forest feels different, as though it too has remembered something. You walk slowly again, and this time the silence doesn't feel like a gap. It feels like a gift. The path unfolds again, winding gently through bamboo that now sways more freely, more openly. The grove has widened, and above you, the moon is fully awake, casting its silver gaze across the tops of the stalks, like a mother watching her children sleep. You walk without aim, just to feel your feet on the earth, just to hear the sound of not needing to be anywhere but here. And then you hear it, the wind, not as a gust, not as a roar, but as a whisper, threaded between the leaves. It moves like a language without words. Gentle fluttering, full of pauses. You stop, tilt your head. It's not loud, but it's everywhere. The bamboo responds in waves. One stalk brushing another. Soft clickings, leaf brushing leaf. It's like the whole grove is listening, speaking, singing in a voice only silence understands. You move to sit at the base of a wide, curved stalk. It leans slightly, as if bowing to something sacred. You lean too. The wind brushes your cheek. It feels like being noticed by something that doesn't need you to prove anything. And you think of an old story, an obscure one often overlooked. There was once a monk who asked his teacher, "What is the voice of truth?" The teacher didn't speak. Instead, he stood, walked outside, and pointed to the trees swaying in the wind. "Listen," he said. "That is the sound of things as they are." The monk waited, confused. Then, after some time, he bowed, because he had finally heard it. Not the trees, not the wind, but the truth that not all voices speak in words. And now, here you are, the wind speaking all around you. No arguments, no sermons, just movement, just presence. The Buddha once said, "As the wind cannot be grasped, so too the nature of mind is ungraspable." You breathe into that. Ungraspable, not because it's elusive, but because it's free. You remember how much effort you've spent trying to understand everything, trying to grasp, define, solve, name. And while there's a time for all that, maybe tonight is not that time. Maybe tonight is for the wind, for listening, without needing to capture what you hear. You close your eyes and let your hearing stretch outward to the leaves, to the creaks, to the rise and fall of distant breath, yours, the forest's, the world's. And you ask gently, what if I let go of needing to know and just listened to what is? There's a soft stirring of leaves in response, as if even the question is enough. You remember another tale, one barely spoken now, of a poet who lived in a hut atop a wind-swept hill. She wrote only one poem every 7 years. People traveled far to read her work, hoping for insights or riddles. But her poems were always the same. Each one began with, I listened to the wind, and ended with, it said nothing. And everything. You smile at that, because isn't that how life often feels? A swirl of sound, somehow full. You lie back now, letting the wind brush over your body like a soft cloth. You feel it move through your hair, across your chest, beneath your palms, resting on the earth. It doesn't ask for anything. It doesn't need to be held. And you begin to wonder, can I let my thoughts be like the wind, moving, passing, unclutched? The rustling continues above you. Some leaves fall, some stay, but nothing clings. Nothing forces. And still, everything belongs. You remain still, listening, not analyzing, not grasping, just being in the song of moving air and standing bamboo. You don't need to understand it. You only need to receive it. Like breath, like truth, like love, you don't have to earn. The wind continues, and you let it speak. You remain beneath the swaying bamboo, the wind tracing soft lines across your skin, as if painting you into the landscape. There's no more thinking now, just presence, just breath, just the slow rhythm of being gently erased into the now. And then you see it, tucked beside the path like a small promise, a single candle flickering inside a bamboo lantern. You approach slowly, drawn not by brightness. It's barely a glow, but by its quiet persistence. The flame dances inside its little shelter, protected but not hidden, steady, alive. One soft tongue of fire against an endless night. You kneel beside it. No one else seems to be around. No signs, no offerings. Just this humble light, holding itself open against the dark. You watch it for a while. The flame sways, but never dies. It bends with the breeze, but doesn't falter. It's not trying to shine. It just does. Because that's what a flame is meant to do. A memory flickers like a whisper from somewhere deeper than thought. You once felt like this candle, not bold, not big, but quietly lit. You remember a time when you offered something a kind word, a gentle hand, a moment of listening, and maybe no one noticed. Maybe it didn't change the world, but it mattered because it was steady, because it was light, because it was true. There's a story from a distant village about a child who lit a candle each night for someone who had gone away. The candle wasn't for finding. It wasn't for mourning. It was for remembering. And still every night, without fail, the child lit the flame. Years passed. The person never returned, but the child grew into someone who carried light wherever they went, someone who had become the flame. And now, as you sit beside this little lantern, you feel its warmth on your face. Subtle, barely there, but real. You place your hands around it, not to shield it, but to say thank you, because even one small light can soften the dark. There's a teaching from the Buddha that returns like a friend. Thousands of candles can be lit from a single candle, and the life of the candle will not be shortened. You whisper it aloud, a quiet offering. You think of all the moments when you've withheld your own light, not out of selfishness, but from doubt. The fear of not being enough, of burning out, of shining unnoticed. But this candle doesn't question its worth. It just continues, steady, gentle, present. You wonder, what if I stopped trying to be the brightest and simply chose to stay lit? The flame flickers as if answering. There's something holy in its patience. It doesn't burn quickly. It doesn't demand attention. It just holds space for warmth, for quiet, for night to unfold without fear. You reach into your pocket and somehow find a small stick of incense. A surprise to you, though it must have slipped in during another moment of presence. You light it from the candle, and a wisp of smoke spirals upward like a prayer that needs no words. The scent is soft, earthy, calming. It curls into the night and disappears, and still the candle burns. You imagine yourself as that flame, not the firework, not the spotlight, just the steady glow that stays when everything else has gone quiet. Could you be content with that? Not fame, not fanfare, just faithfulness. The kind of quiet consistency that turns a dark corner into a place of comfort. You sit a while longer, long enough to notice the way shadows dance, long enough to feel your own light begin to steady again. Then gently you rise. Leave the candle where it is. Let it keep shining for whoever comes next, because now you carry a little of it with you inside. You walk on with the memory of the candle glowing gently behind your ribs, its warmth tucked somewhere between your breath and your bones. The forest is hushed now, as if it too has lowered its voice, letting only the subtlest sounds pass through, like secrets shared only with those who slow down enough to listen. The path leads you into a low, sheltered grove. Here the bamboo grows shorter, denser, almost like it's huddling. And there, in the center, you find something simple, beautiful, and strange. A wide stone bowl filled with water, but not just water. It's cloudy thick, with stirred up silt and fine sediment. Like someone has just shaken it or a storm has passed through. You peer in and can see no reflection, no depth, just murk. You sit beside it. There's no sign, no instruction. But something in the scene feels deliberate, like it's meant to be this way. So you wait. The Buddha once said, "Be still and know." As the water clears when it is left alone, so does the mind. You lean forward and watch. The bowl doesn't move. But slowly, imperceptibly, the sediment begins to settle. You can't see the change, but you sense it. The way stillness slowly rewrites chaos into calm. You inhale, exhale, let the air pass in and out like the wind through tall grass. No effort, no resistance. And with each breath, the water begins to change. Layer by layer, the cloudiness descends, and now your reflection starts to appear soft, unsure, half-formed. You think of all the ways you've tried to force clarity, all the shaking, the stirring, the desperate searching for answers, only to find that the more you scramble, the murkier things become. What if peace isn't found by solving the problem, but by letting the water settle? A story drifts into your mind, quiet as mist. There was once a woman who traveled with a glass jar of river water. She kept it with her, always claiming it held a message from the mountains. But when people asked what the message was, she would smile and say, "I don't know yet." It's still cloudy. Years later, she was seen sitting quietly by a stream, the same jar beside her. The water inside was clear now, perfectly still. A child asked her, "Is it time?" She looked into the jar, then into the sky, and simply said, "Now I understand." No one knew what had changed, but her eyes looked like the surface of a quiet lake. What has been clouding your waters lately? Busyness, fear, the impossible urge to figure everything out before life begins. You sit a little longer, let the bowl do what it does best. Nothing, and in doing nothing, it reveals everything. The surface clears further now, and your reflection sharpens, not like a photograph, more like a poem. Shifting incomplete, but honest. You're not trying to fix anything tonight. You're not reaching for resolution. You're letting things be, and in that letting, something softens. Your breath deepens. You realize the water didn't need you to do anything, just to stop doing so much. The same might be true for your heart. There's a stillness inside. You always has been. That's just waiting for you to pause long enough to notice it. The wind stills. The bamboo stops swaying. Even the night holds its breath. You touch the edge of the bowl. It's cool, slick with dew. You leave a small fingerprint, but the water doesn't mind. It simply absorbs the moment and continues clearing. And you wonder, what clarity might arise if I stopped chasing it? You rise slowly, not with resolution, but with reverence. The kind that comes when you know something important is happening, even if you can't explain it. You take one last glance into the bowl. The water isn't perfectly clear yet, but it's clearer than before, and that's enough. The path curls softly away from the clearing, the bowl of water fading into darkness behind you, like a dream that doesn't vanish, but simply dissolves into the night. Your feet move without needing direction, now guided not by goal, but by trust. Trust in the path, in your breath, in the still rhythm that has quietly begun to live within you. Ahead, something tall rises into the moonlight, a ladder. It leans against a tree so vast you can't see where it ends. The top disappears into mist, soft, shifting silver, and the rungs stretch upward in gentle intervals, weathered but strong. You approach it with curiosity, not urgency. There's no sign asking you to climb, no voice saying, "This is the way." Just a quiet presence, like the ladder has been waiting here a long time, unmoved by the need to explain itself. You place your hand on the first rung. The wood is cool, smooth, from use, as if many hands have come before yours. And you wonder, climb to where? There's a story whispered in the monasteries near the mountains, one that children know before they can walk, and elders tell without needing to remember. It's the tale of the endless ladder. Once a seeker set out to find the final truth, the ultimate answer that would make everything make sense. After years of wandering, she found a ladder said to lead to it. No top in sight, just rung after rung. She climbed and climbed and climbed. Each rung brought clarity, insight, peace, but also another rung. Eventually, she paused miles above the ground and looked down. The view was breathtaking, the sky vast, the climb honest. Then she realized she hadn't reached truth. She had become it, not by arriving, but by climbing, by choosing each step without needing the next to be final. You gaze up into the mist, unsure if you'll climb tonight. And then you smile, because maybe you don't need to. Maybe it's not about reaching the top, but meeting each step with presence. You sit beside the ladder, not because you're afraid, but because tonight, listening feels holier than striving. The Buddha once said, "There is no path to happiness. Happiness is the path." You've heard it before, but now it lands differently. Not as a philosophy, as a feeling, as a moment here beside a ladder that asks nothing but honesty from each hand that rises toward it. You think of all the ways you've measured progress, the silent comparisons, the invisible finish lines, the subtle, unspoken belief that there's a there you must get to before you're enough. But what if there's no final rung? What if you're not meant to reach the top? What if the climb itself is sacred? You look up again. The mist hasn't lifted. The top is still hidden. But now it feels kind. It feels like permission to not know, to take your time, to rest when needed. You place a hand on the second rung, just to feel it, not to climb, not yet. You close your eyes and feel the wood beneath your fingers, the grounding of the earth beneath your seat, the mystery above, waiting without urgency. And in the quiet, a question forms. If there is no summit, would I still choose the step? A breeze answers, not with certainty, but with encouragement. The bamboo sways in rhythm again. The forest is breathing with you. You rise not onto the ladder, but onto your feet. You don't need to decide tonight. You've already honored the climb by pausing, by listening, by loving the step you're on. The mist from the ladder still clings to your shoulders as you walk on cooler. Now, as if the air itself has shifted with the deepening of the night, the bamboo parts gently to reveal a trail that winds upward, not steeply, but with the gradual grace of something very old. You follow it, not because you must, but because it feels like the next natural breath. And then you see it nestled into the mountain's curve, like a secret whispered long ago, a temple, not grand, not gleaming, but enduring. Its stone steps are worn smooth by centuries of bare feet. The wood of its beams is darkened by wind and rain, softened by sun. Moss clings to every surface, not in decay, but in quiet partnership. It breathes age. It breathes time. You walk closer reverently. The gate is open, not welcoming or unwelcoming, just present. Inside, you find no crowd, no priests, no candles burning, just space and silence, and the feeling that this place has known how to wait. There's a story you've heard before, faint perhaps, embroidered over time, but still carrying something true. Centuries ago, a community of monks began to build this very temple, but they had no wealth, no plans, no rush. Each monk would carve one stone, or shape one tile, or carry one beam up the mountain. Some years, nothing happened at all, and yet the work continued, one slow offering after another. It took more than 100 years. Most of the original monks never saw it finished, but they didn't mind, because they said, to build with devotion is already to arrive. You sit on the temple steps now, letting your fingers trace the grain of the old wood. It's uneven in places, cracked, but warm. Not one piece of this temple was rushed. Not one moment was wasted. The Buddha once said, "As a mountain is steady, so too is the mind of one who walks the path." You breathe that in. Steady, not fast, not impressive, just steady. You think of all the things you've abandoned because they took too long. The goals that felt distant, the healing that didn't arrive on your schedule, the love that bloomed too slowly or not at all. But what if devotion doesn't demand completion? What if the temple is built in the heart long before the walls rise? You imagine your life like this temple, each moment a stone, each breath a beam, each act of kindness, a lantern that might someday be lit. And you begin to see, even when you thought you were falling behind, maybe you were simply building something sacred that takes time. There's another tale the monks tell of a boy who spent years carving a single statue for the altar. He worked slowly, lovingly, never in haste. When he was done, it looked almost unfinished, plain simple. But every person who came to the temple after him said the same thing: I see myself in that statue. And so it remained, unvarnished, beautiful, true. You lean your head against the temple's wooden post. Close your eyes. Let the stillness fold around you. Like a robe, you wonder, what would it feel like to build my life like this temple? One slow, sacred stone at a time. The night answers, not with thunder or wisdom, but with a breeze, cool, steady, kind. You open your eyes and find the moon framed perfectly between two beams of the temple's roof. It looks like it's been placed there on purpose. A pearl tucked into the sky. You smile, because nothing here has been forced, and still it stands. You rise gently from the temple's wooden threshold, bowing slightly, not out of ritual, but gratitude. Gratitude for the stillness, the quiet stones, the slowness that teaches without needing to speak. The path beyond the temple is narrow now, gently curving downhill and into a part of the grove where the light is even softer, where the shadows blur together like ink in water. There's something different here. You notice it first in the air, a cooler touch, a faint, earthy sweetness, like something ancient, breathing just beneath the surface. And then you see it. A large stone resting against the curve of the hill, its edges round at its top, covered with a thick, velvety coat of moss. At first, it seems like just another part of the forest's skin. But as you walk closer, you realize this moss is not background, it is the teaching. You crouch beside it. Run your fingers gently across the surface. It yields just slightly, soft as a sigh, as if it remembers every season it has endured. There are no flowers, no scent, just greenness, quiet, slow, sure. You sit beside it and listen. There's a story here too. It's said that once a monk who had failed at everything, his chants, his meditations, even his garden, was assigned to clean the old stone steps of the monastery. Shamed but obedient, he scrubbed the stone daily, then weekly, then not at all. He simply let the moss grow. Years passed, and those steps became the most beloved part of the monastery. Not because they were polished, but because they had become, with time, covered with green patience. People came from far away to walk those steps barefoot, just to feel the cool gentleness beneath their souls. The monk never left the monastery. He never mastered anything, but he became moss, soft, steady enough you reach out again, and let your hand rest there. The moss does not bloom. It doesn't rise with speed or spectacle. It creeps quietly, faithfully. It doesn't demand attention. It receives it, and still, it changes everything it touches. The Buddha once said, "As rain falls equally on the mountain and the valley, so does wisdom nourish the patient and the restless alike." You think of how hard you've tried to be strong, sharp, efficient, noticeable. But what if softness was strength? What if you didn't need to charge forward, but gently cover what is offering rest instead of reform? You close your eyes. The moss beneath your hand is like a quiet friend, one who has nothing to say and says it beautifully. You breathe in and wonder, could I grow softer without growing weaker? The forest hums quietly around you. Not a single leaf trembles without cause. The wind doesn't press. Here it strolls. You lean your back against the mossy stone and feel how solid it is beneath the softness. And maybe that's the point. Moss doesn't pretend to be the rock. It simply covers it with tenderness. You remember a tale you once overheard a healer who never spoke, never touched, never diagnosed. She simply sat beside people and grew moss around their silence. It was enough. People left her presence clearer, lighter, and never knew why. You think, now, could I be that kind of presence? Not fixing, not teaching, just offering soft space. So others may settle, so life may speak, so time may pass gently. You sit there longer than you meant to, but not a moment is wasted, because this is what the moss teaches. There is power in slow covering, quiet contact, deep softness, and tonight you carry it forward, not like armor, but like a shawl. The moss fades behind you as you walk once more, its softness still lingering like a blessing on your palms. The path widens again, though barely. You feel the shift in the air before you see anything, a hush that feels like a held breath, or a curtain drawn just slightly back from something vast. And then, rising slowly above the grove, you see it. The moon, not hidden, not shy, just present, round and calm, and exactly where it is meant to be. You find a place to sit in its light, a small rock smooth enough to cradle you without complaint. The bamboo rustles softly around you, bowing as if in quiet respect. The moonlight glances off their edges, turning them silver at the tips. It's as if the whole grove is exhaling together. You look up steady. The moon glows full, yet gives nothing away. It does not hurry across the sky. It does not argue with the darkness. It simply rises. When it's ready, there's a story told in old villages near the forest. Once the sun fell in love with the moon and begged her to rise during the day so he could see her always. She tried. Once. She rose before her time and faded almost instantly into the brightness. Her shape was lost, her voice dimmed. The sky seemed off balance, incomplete. After that, the moon waited. She rose only when the sky was ready for her, when the light gave way, when the hush was whole, and in doing so, she was seen completely. You gaze up at her now, suspended like a pearl in ink, and think, what if I let myself rise when I'm truly ready? Not when others ask it of me. There's a line from the Buddha that drifts into you, like mist, like the moon come out from behind the clouds. Shine, not push, not perform. Shine when the time is right. The moon does not check a clock. She does not compare herself to stars or wait for applause. She simply follows the rhythm carved into her being. And maybe you have one too. You lie back now on the ground, letting the coolness of the soil greet your spine. The moon gazes down, not instructive, not demanding, just present. She does not rush. She does not slow. She simply moves by a rhythm deeper than thought, a rhythm older than plans, a rhythm you were born remembering and later forgot. And perhaps tonight, you begin to remember again. You think of your own cycles, times when you tried to bloom too early, times when you waited too long, times when your own inner moon wanted to rise, but you silenced her, fearing the world would say, not yet. But what if the moon's way was yours too? You look up, she is whole, and so are you. You've been waxing and waning, growing and resting, shining and hiding, and none of it was wrong. The moon does not shine every night, and yet we never stop believing in her. What would it feel like to believe in yourself that way, to trust your timing, to honor your silence as much as your brightness? You close your eyes. Let her light fall across your face like a lullaby. You don't need to understand everything tonight. You only need to know the moon is not late. She is not early. She is simply here, and so are you. You rise from the moonlit patch of earth, your body now part of the night, cooled by wind, softened by stillness, held by something larger than thought. The grove feels familiar now, as if it's folded you into its breath. The trees don't part for you, they simply receive you. And then, just ahead, you see it. A single bamboo stalk, taller than all the rest. It sways slightly in the breeze, a slow, dignified arc, like a bow held just before release. The moonlight gleams down its length, tracing its segments. Its long, graceful body, rooted deep in the dark soil. But what draws your gaze isn't the height, it's the curve. It's the way the bamboo bends, just enough. You walk toward it, slower than ever, now reverent without even trying to be. You stop a few paces away and watch. A drop of water falls from a leaf above, perhaps condensation, perhaps a gentle gift of dew, and lands with a soft plink on the bamboo's smooth skin, and the stalk bows, not dramatically, not in surrender, but with grace, with patience, with knowing. You sit beneath it, cross-legged, and look up. The bamboo stands tall, but not stiff, strong, but not stubborn. You can feel the years in it, not just the height, but the waiting, the way it rooted quietly for so long, the way it grew slowly, unseen, the way it endured seasons without complaint. And now, in the hush of night, it bends, because that's what bamboo does, not to break, but to survive, to stay whole, to return upright when the wind is done. There's an old Zen story told by a gardener. One winter, a heavy snowfall blanketed the temple grove. The pines snapped, the maples broke, but the bamboo, it bent low under the weight, and when the snow melted, it rose again, unbroken, because it knew when to yield. You reach out and touch the stalk beside you. It feels alive, not in the way of animals or humans, but in the way of something ancient that has learned the art of patience. And you wonder, have I learned to bend, or have I only learned to brace? The Buddha once said, to yield is to be whole. You breathe that in. Yielding is not giving up. It is giving in to life as it is. It is the wisdom to pause, to bow, to know when to release the weight you've been holding. Maybe it's not strength that keeps you standing. Maybe it's flexibility. Maybe your true power is your ability to bend and still rise. You lean back and look up again. The bamboo sways once more, this time more slowly, like it's nodding, not to you, but to the rhythm that connects you both. The rhythm of time, of breath, of stillness and movement, rising and falling. You close your eyes and something shifts. You feel it, not as a thought, but as a sensation, like water settling, like warmth returning to the hands, a release. You don't have to force anything anymore, not tonight, not tomorrow. You are already becoming, already growing, already rooted in something strong, even if it hasn't yet broken through the soil of your life. And even when the rains come, you know now you can bend, you can yield, you can return like the bamboo, like breath, like patience that blooms in silence. You stay there for a long while, letting the sounds of the grove weave through you. The bamboo creaking in the breeze, the faint chirp of a distant night bird, the hush of wind, like hands brushing softly through your hair. And when you're ready, you rise, gently, gratefully. You touch the bamboo one last time. It doesn't resist, and neither do you. You walk back through the grove. Now your steps slower, softer, your body relaxed, and your breath moving like a quiet tide. The moon is higher, but dimmer. Now it's light, less a glow, more a gentle suggestion. The bamboo seems to lean back slightly, as if saying, you've seen enough for tonight. And you have. You carry with you the lessons, but not as words, not as rules, just impressions in the earth of your being, like footprints that fade but still change the path behind you. The cracked teacup, the farmer who let go, the silent bell, the thread paused on the loom, the moss growing slowly, gently, the bamboo bowing without breaking, all of it woven now into the stillness inside you. There's no need to recall it all. It will return when it's needed. So now, let the night do what it does best. Let it hold you. Let your breath ease deeper. Let your thoughts drift like falling leaves. You don't need to hold on to anything. Let go. Let go of needing to understand. Let go of the day's edges. Let go of your place in the grove. You are already home, in your breath, in your body, in the patient unfolding of this moment. And if sleep comes soon as it may it find you softened. May it wrap you in silence. May it bend gently around your heart, like bamboo in the wind. There is nothing more you need to do. Just rest. You've been walking a long while. You've been listening deeply, and now it's time to close your eyes. The forest will still be here. The teachings will still whisper. But for now, sleep. Sleep with the stillness of moss. Sleep with the timing of the moon. Sleep with the patience of bamboo. And wake only when you are ready.